All right, let's talk about something that happens behind the scenes in every large company. It's a process that's absolutely critical for financial health, but honestly, it's often a huge source of pain. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on corporate account reconciliation and demystify this unsung hero of the finance world. You've probably balanced a checkbook at some point, right? You know the drill. Now, just try to imagine doing that, but for a massive global company. You've got dozens of bank accounts and all these different systems for sales, for inventory, for payroll, all spitting out data. All of a sudden, you're not matching a handful of items, you're trying to make sense of millions of transactions. That right there is the monumental task of corporate account reconciliation. So what makes this so incredibly hard? Let's break down exactly why this process of closing the books can feel like an absolute nightmare that repeats itself every single month. For way too long, this whole thing has been stuck in what I like to call spreadsheet hell. I mean, picture it. Different teams are exporting data into these giant, clunky files and then trying to match everything up by hand. It's so slow. And of course, it's just begging for human error. The smart way, the modern way, is a centralized system. It just sucks in all that data automatically, creating a single source of truth that's not only fast and accurate, but also completely auditable.
And believe me, doing this manually creates some serious pain points. We're talking about highly skilled, highly paid finance professionals who are just burning days, sometimes even weeks on mind-numbing, repetitive tasks. This isn't just a waste of talent, it's a huge risk. One little mistake, one copy-paste error could have massive financial fallout. Plus, when you've got sensitive data in spreadsheets being emailed all over the place, forget about it. There's no real audit trail and the security is a major headache.
So the big question is, how do you escape that spreadsheet nightmare? Well, the answer lies in systems that are purpose-built to bring order and, frankly, some intelligence to all that chaos. Let's take a look at how one of these solutions actually works. So you have a system like the one from Oracle, which is basically a specialized machine. It's designed to do one thing and do it exceptionally well: manage the entire reconciliation process from start to finish. Instead of all that manual drudgery, it automates everything: the data gathering, the matching, figuring out the exceptions, and the approvals. And it does it all inside one secure, totally controlled system. But here's where it gets really clever. This isn't just about making things go faster. Its real power comes from what's basically a two-pronged attack on all that financial complexity, using two very distinct but connected approaches. So what are these two core components? This is where it gets super interesting, because they don't just do the same thing. They actually address two totally different levels of the problem. This is how the system splits the job in two. On one hand, you have reconciliation compliance. Think of this as the big picture check. It's asking a really simple question. Do the totals match? Does the final number in our general ledger match what the bank statement says? Simple yes or no. Then, on the other hand, you have transaction matching. This is the nitty-gritty detective work. It dives inside those totals to match up all the individual items, asking, okay, but why do they match? Which specific deposit over here lines up with that specific sale over there? Okay, so we have the big picture check and the detective work. How do they actually work together in a real-world workflow? How do you get from this mountain of messy raw data to something that is completely certified and totally ready for an audit? The automated workflow is, surprisingly logical. First, you load all your data from all those different systems into one central spot. Then the system automatically kicks off all the right reconciliation tasks. Now here comes the magic. Automated matching rules just run, instantly clearing millions of matching items in seconds. And here's the absolute game changer. Your people, your experts, they don't start from zero. They step in to focus their brainpower only on the handful of exceptions the system couldn't figure out. From there, it's all packaged into clean, easy-to-read reports for final sign-off. And get this, that final sign-off step has an incredible amount of control built right in. A single reconciliation can be set up to go through a workflow with up to 10 different levels of reviewers. That means your super important high-risk accounts get exactly the level of scrutiny they need every single time.
All right, so the process is faster, it's way more accurate, we get it. But what's the real payoff? What's the so what here? What does this really unlock for the business as a whole?
Look, the benefits here go way beyond just balancing the books. Of course, you're going to close your books faster and you're going to slash your audit risk. But the real transformation is what it does for your people. By automating all of that boring manual work, you free up your sharpest finance minds to actually focus on high-value strategic analysis. You know, the stuff they were actually hired to do. And all of this really points to one big idea, what some sources call an EPM, or Enterprise Performance Management Center of Excellence. Now, I know that sounds super corporate, right? But it's actually a pretty simple concept. It's about creating a team that uses technology not just to tick boxes, but to fundamentally change how the business runs and to drive smarter decisions across the board. Which really leaves us with one final big question to think about. When you take this massive, time-consuming battle of reconciliation completely off the table, when it just happens automatically, what are your best people now free to solve? What's the next big strategic challenge your team could tackle with all of that reclaimed time and brainpower?